Mesopotamians date back 10,000 years ago. This is where the oldest records of astronomy are found. Most records are about the skies. They developed an astronomical culture passed on to the Greeks and modern world. Many Egyptian buildings were built with an astronomical orientation. The temples and pyramids were constructed in relation to the stars, zodiacs, and constellations. Construction started in 2600 BC. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument located in Wiltshire, England, about 2 miles west of Asbury. Astronomy soon became a dominant science in China. The main responsibility of political power was to keep the earth in total harmony with the skies. Thales of Midas lived from 625 BC to 547 BC. He used the Little Dipper as a navigational aid and predicted the solar eclipse of 585 BC. Pythagoras of Samos lived from 560 BC to 480 BC, first to predict Earth was spherical, and the universe was made up of spheres, and the Earth was in the center. Babylonian astronomers observed the skies for centuries and created almanacs and catalogs, which we use today to identify our zodiacs. Aristotle lived from 384 BC to 322 BC. He believed that the universe was circular and that the Earth was flat and sat in the middle, while everything rotated around it. Aristarchus lived from 310 to 220 BC. He was the first to ever predict that the sun was the center of the universe. Anatothenus lived from 276 to 194 BC, made the first good measurement of the size of the earth, measured shadows casted by the sun when it was directly above him. Hipparchus lived from 190 to 120 BC. He was the first to create a star catalog and organize astronomical objects, made scales to measure stars' brightness, discovered Earth's axis by gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. The ancient civilization Mayans observed the skies and created a 12-month calendar that we use till this day. Claudia Ptolemy lived from 85 to 165 AD, believed the same as Aristotle, and had a diagram called the Ptolemaic system, which shows everything orbits the Earth. Muslims study the sky for the purpose of timekeeping and when to practice their religious beliefs. Nicholas Copernicus lived from 1473 to 1543 and came up with the saying the sun was in the center and everything orbited around it. Tycho Brahe lived from 1546 to 1601, was given an island by King Frederick to continue observations with the team, believed that the Earth was stationary and the moon and sun orbit the Earth. Galileo lived from 1564 to 1642 and made unheard of observations of planets, stars, moon, and the sun with a telescope. Found a lot of unknown stars, for example Madrid stars, discovered the moon had mountains and valleys, discovered Jupiter's satellites and Venus's phases. Johannes Kepler lived from 1571 to 1630. He kept 30 years of Tycho's research. Discoveries were based on planetary orbits and created the 3 laws of motion. Isaac Newton lived from 1642 to 1727. Newton's laws of motion based off Kepler's research proved Kepler's laws were right, but only to a point. Newton said objects in the universe had mass. Edmund Halley lived from 1656 to 1742. Established a star catalog. He saw logs of comet sightings an equal number of years apart from each other. Thinking it was the same comet, he named it Halley's Comet. The early genius Albert Einstein lived from 1879 to 1955 and made the theory of relativity that the speed of light is constant. Niels Bohr lived from 1885 to 1962 and made the Bohr's atomic model in 1913 that shows electrons orbit around the nucleus. Wolfgang Pauli lived from 1900 to 1958, was a physicist who discovered the quantum theory. Werner Heisenberg lived from 1901 to 1976, made new theories about quantum physics on electrons' behaviors, most famous for uncertainty principle, which is not being able to exactly know where a thing is or how fast it's moving. Edwin Hubble lived from 1889 to 1953. The Hubble telescope was named after him. Mount Wilson observations showed clouds of lights where the universe is constantly expanding. George Lamarty lived from 1896 to 1966 and created the Big Bang Theory, that the universes are moving apart at a high rate of speed. Robert Oppenheimer lived from 1904 to 1976. In 1944, he came up with the atomic bomb. Fred Hale lived in 1915 to 2001, mainly known for theory of stellar nucleosynthesis, which is making of a new nucleus from protons, neutrons. Hated the BBT and favored the steady-state universe, which says the universe is expanding but is also making more. Amo Penzias and Robert Wilson supported the BBT, discovered radio waves coming from the center of the Milky Way, detected the universe's lights by microwaves. Armstrong and Aldrin were the first men to walk on the moon in July 1969. They traveled in Apollo 11.